Anybody see Miss Harms?
She's just logging in now.
Okay. All right, we'll get started then. A regular meeting of the Windsor Heights City Council at 6 p.m. Monday, December 7th, 2020. Call to order. Roll call.
Susan Scaries.
Here.
Joseph Jones.
Here.
Mike Lafredo.
Yes.
Mike Jones.
Here.
And Teresa Harms.
Here.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
United States of America.
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the agenda. I'll take a motion.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Susan Scaries.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Mike Lafredo.
Yes.
Mike Jones.
Yes.
And Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Public hearing. Public hearing on ordinance number 2020-09, an ordinance amending chapter 161 of the Windsor Heights Code of Ordinances relating to post-construction stormwater management. Hear a motion for opening the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Yeah.
Roll call.
Susan Scaries.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Mike Lafredo.
Yes.
Mike Jones.
Yes.
And Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Dalton, could you sort of give us a summary of what this is?
Yeah, definitely. This is one of the conclusions of the Capital Crossroads Stormwater Management work group that met over the last couple of years to better manage stormwater on development and redevelopment. There's not a ton of substantial changes in this because we just redid our ordinance in April of 2019, but this is getting it same wording or very similar wording to what other suburbs are doing to kind of help reduce the impact of stormwater as we continue to grow. Any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Or any public comment?
Discussion from the council?
Was there any public comment at all?
I did not receive anything, Teresa, in my email or anything or phone calls.
Okay, thanks, Travis.
No problem.
I'll move to close the public hearing if there's not a
Second.
concern.
I'm glad we have it.
Roll call.
Yes.
Susan Scaries.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Mike Lafredo.
Yes.
Mike Jones.
Yes.
And Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Consideration of the first reading of ordinance number 2020-09, an ordinance amending chapter 161 of the Windsor Heights Code of Ordinances relating to post-construction stormwater management. Motion.
Move
So
to
moved.
approve.
Oh, second.
Roll call.
Susan Scaries.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Mike Lafredo.
Yes.
Mike Jones.
Yes.
And Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Public forum. This is the time set aside for comments from the public on topics of city business other than those listed on the agenda. No action may be taken. If you have a comment, please, raise your hand. State your name and address for the record and keep your comments to no more than 5 minutes. I know that we have a presentation from DART. Is there anybody from the general public who would like to speak before that? anybody raising their hand, Travis?
Yes, looks like we have one from Edie.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who attended Celebrate Windsor Heights, especially to our council and members of the city who attended, and just a thank you to everyone. It was a great event. We appreciate the support.
Thank you, Edie. Anybody else, Travis?
I do not see any hands at this time.
Okay, thank you. We have a presentation from DART. I'm not sure who is here to speak on that. Nobody?
I don't see anyone from DART. Joseph, do you?
Maybe they're running behind. Maybe we can just come back to it when they get here.
Yeah, I'll text
Keep
and
moving.
see if I can find out.
Okay. We'll move on to number 5 then, consent agenda. Any item on the consent agenda may be removed for separate consideration. Your motion,
Move to approve.
Second.
roll call.
Susan Skiris. Yes. Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Mike LaFredo,
Yes.
Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes, sir.
New business. Consideration of number 2020-124, a resolution entering into an agreement with the Street Collective to bring a B-cycle station to Colby Park and Windsor Heights. Motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
But I just have a few questions on this. I did kind of have some answers to, or had a few emails sent to me about this. There's some concerns of mine just with the amount of money that we're looking at for this. And just, I guess some of my questions were answered, but B-Cycle couldn't answer the questions that didn't really pertain to them as far as the Colby Park initiative and the comments that were made here that, you know, this was something that the residents were looking at. I do know that the concerns were that this is a lot of money that is kind of more specialized. And while I completely agree with this program, and I think it's a good idea, I do question the money that will be spent on this, just because of the comments that, you know, the residents sent me.
I'm sorry, Susan. I pretty much went immediately to a roll call without entertaining discussion. That's my
That's
fault.
okay.
I was getting in a
Susan, what is the cost associated with that?
Well, and I'd have to pull up my email again. I'm doing this. It's $10,000 to enter into the agreement. Then we pay for the concrete and the electrician to put in the dock, or for lack of a better term, I guess, dock. And then we pay $5,000 for years 2 through 5. And I did ask about like flooding, and I know that it talked about damages, and I'm assuming that that's like vandalism or concerns on, you know, just having it be out there in the general public. But it didn't really state that flooding was covered under the insurance through the Des Moines Street Collective. And, you know, that's just something that since we have these issues with our flooding, we know this, I just don't want to put this money in and have us be out more money by, you know, having to continuously change things or whatever we would have to do to ensure that these things stay in appropriate I guess, gear or whatever, you know.
Are these bikes rented?
My understanding of the program is, and I went through and read this a little bit, but we're going way back in May when I did my research on this. They're rented, and you can rent either regular bikes, you know, that you pedal, or there's more, I don't want to say gas powered because that's not really the term. Maybe it's battery powered. I'm sure somebody has better knowledge of this than me. Again, we're going back in May, so you have to excuse me here. You know, again, I think this is a great program. I'm just like East Village. I absolutely love this. And there's other cities that this is great, you know, a great addition. I'm just thinking, could we use that $5,000 a year or even the $10,000 in the first year to do something like improve our playground or something that has been on that Colby Park project list for, you know, that more people have stated this is something that we need updating with.
Seeing as how I immediately went to a roll call, Dalton, was there any sort of introductory statement or information you wanted to provide about this project?
Yeah, thank you. And Susan, I had the same concerns that you did on the finance side of this thing until I started looking at like what the actual units themselves cost. So if you or I were to just go to the Bike World and buy an electric assist bike, we're talking about $2,000 to $3,000. And these units that we're getting for this station are right around that price point. And forgive me, we've got Mike Armstrong and Jeremy Lewis on the call with us tonight from the Des Moines Street Collective. So I might defer some of these questions over to them that I can't answer. But we did have an amendment to our agreement with the Street Collective that it's $5,000 a year or the lesser of the difference between the operating costs and the operating revenues, so that if these things do generate a little bit more money, we're not going to just be given a blank check for $5,000, because I want to make sure that we're not, you know, subsidizing stations elsewhere, while also maintaining that these are part of a larger network, and so they can't really be operated individually. It's just really not the intent of this program. The grant that the Street Collective got from the MPO is for a total of $170,000. So they received an additional $70,000 in funding, and that's the reason that they have expanded this expansion to Waterworks Park as well. Gathering my thoughts here. So the $170,000 from the MPO requires that there's local match. And so that's where the $5,000 upfront cost for this first year comes from, plus the $5,000 operation and maintenance cost for the first year. So for a total of $10,000 the first year, we get somewhere around $30,000 worth of equipment. The concrete, I estimate that to be about $1,000, probably a little bit less. And then the electric, a little less than $1,000, or somewhere right around $1,000. I don't know if I'm going to bore it in or if we're just going to cut a panel out of the parking lot and pour that back in. It's such a short run. I don't know if it makes sense to bore it. My computer, sorry, go ahead.
What's the ongoing cost?
Well, the ongoing cost is the time that Jeremy and Mike have to spend to come out, check the station. They're 100% responsible for those bikes in the station. So they got to come out and swap out the electric batteries so that the electric assist bikes can operate. You know, some people might take a bike downtown and then have somebody pick them up downtown and bring them home. So there'll be a net loss of physical bikes in the park. And so they have a van. The Street Collective has a van, and they actually shuttle the bikes around town to make sure that there's adequate coverage on all their stations. So it is a pretty maintenance and labor intensive program when you dig into it. My computer restarted here as you were going through your questions, Susan, so I do apologize. I think I missed most of them.
Dalton, maybe we could ask Jeremy, appreciate Jeremy and Tim being on, if they wanted to maybe share anything and speak to it from their perspective.
Mike and Jeremy,
Hi.
you guys there?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I needed to raise my hand or what. So my name is Mike Armstrong. I'm the Director of Planning and Communications for the Street Collective. B-Cycle is a national organization that we run a system in Greater Des Moines. It's in cities around the country, but it's been in the Des Moines area for over 10 years now. They are check-in, check-out bikes, station to station, so you can return to the station you left from or drop a bike off at any other station. And it is a sort of checkout fee and then sort of a by-minute fee. So one of our mechanics, when we were exploring Colby Park as a site, he checked out one of the electric bikes from downtown. It was a 20-minute ride out to Colby Park along the trail, and then we would be able to check it in there, and it cost a few dollars. The new bikes that we're purchasing are electric assist bikes. So they are electric batteries, and they are assist only. So it's not a throttle that you can just open up and fly around. It just makes pedaling a bit easier, especially when it comes to hills or wind or something like that. And we feel that switching to e-bikes, adding those in greatly expands the audience, the people who are comfortable riding, especially for locations that are not in the city center. But also we've seen from our peer cities, Omaha, Madison, Kansas City, that demand for this service goes up 4 to 5 times with the addition of electric bikes. So we're requesting for the first year $5,000 for equipment, and that equipment typically runs between 20 and 25,000 in total. And we're asking for $5,000 a year for 5 years for operations and maintenance, and that covers what Dalton explained already, as well as communications, marketing, programming, sort of our staff time and making sure that the system and that station and bikes are in good repair.
I see the information about the liability. Who actually owns the bikes?
We own the bikes. The Street Collective owns these materials.
Okay.
So if there's any profit on these, it goes to your group?
Yes, we're a nonprofit that operates this, as well as doing our education, encouragement classes, that kind of thing as well.
But does it reflect back to the station that it's comes from?
We can track starting and end point of trips, so we can see, some stations are used more than others, and we can track some of that. We don't typically produce revenue reports based on systems, and we are typically a break-even organization for bike share.
Yeah. I'm thinking aloud here that this may be a good issue, as Susan's pointed out. I mean, it's a worthy thing, no doubt about that in my mind, but that it might be an item to receive and table for now as the budget is going forward in the development of the next budget.
And Mike, I would point out that I budgeted for this in this year's operating budget, and I've got it as a proposal on next year's operating budget, as well as the next 4 years. So the funds are there to pay for this.
Dalton, are you supportive of this? I'm thinking I'm hearing that.
Yeah, I am supportive of this. I think that it'll be a pretty good thing for the park. There's a pretty good biking population in Windsor Heights, so I think that's a good community to support.
So this, I just wanted to, I will speak in favor of this. It's been an issue that, an item that we've talked about for a long time, and one that I actually received a lot of supportive comments from residents about, particularly the fact that it's going to have the e-bike component. A lot of people are interested in them, but it's certainly an investment for those who want to, if they would want to actually purchase an e-bike. It actually will allow some of our aging residents to be able to participate in cycling, if that's something that they have an interest in, to come and utilize the e-bikes, as this is something that particularly those with disabilities or have difficulties cycling would like to try or engage in, that this is an inexpensive way to participate. E-bikes are certainly something of a new opportunity for people who would like to maybe get some outside exercise and that sort of thing. So I have heard positive things from folks in particular about that. In addition, I've heard from a large faction of folks who see this as a potential commuting opportunity, particularly for those who work downtown. They see this as an opportunity to get themselves down to the park, as close to where where they might have otherwise taken DART or taken their car, and in the months where it's available, that they would use this as an opportunity to commute downtown to work. So I think that was also an incredible point. And then I think it fits into the whole concept of the bike hub that we're trying to develop in this space. And I know that we don't have all of that resolved yet, and there's still lots of commentary about where that's going and how that fits in with our park plan. And so, and the fact that it was budgeted, it's been part of our comprehensive plan, and it's been part of our previous conversation about bringing this concept here. I've heard from a lot of folks too about, they'd like to be able to jump on, a bike and head down to Waterworks, tootle around there and come back. That's a nice opportunity for folks. So I think it offers a quality of life component and really has the opportunity to bring folks into Windsor Heights as well, whether it's to do some shopping at the grocery store or to come in. I know that the 515 isn't here, but that's it's a significant bike population that we would be the bike hub closest to the 515 off of the trail. So I'm supportive of this concept. I certainly appreciate and recognize the dollars concern. Dalton, maybe you could, would there be any opportunities for us to apply for any grant funds? I'm just asking out of curiosity whether or not there's something that you think there are opportunities in that space that we might be able to approach to help cover some of the ongoing expenses with this, despite having it in our budget.
So the station itself is being pretty heavily subsidized through MPO funding, the STBG set aside, which is like transportation alternative stuff. Most of the time, grants don't like to cover ongoing maintenance costs. They're more focused on brick and mortar and physical improvements inside. That being said, I think there's a good opportunity for us to put some kind of like public art installation near this to kind of tie it all together. But to answer your question, no, I don't think we'd be competitive for operation and maintenance costs for grant.
I have a question. I have a question for Therese.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
It sounds like you've spoken to a significant number of people about this. I haven't heard from anybody. It doesn't mean that others haven't, but I didn't realize it was that major of a topic that you would hear from a lot of people on it. So I'm just
Sure.
surprised by that.
Sure. Well,
Understood.
it probably has something to do with the fact that I'm a cyclist and I represent the bicycle community. So I think that that's probably why I heard from people about it. So
Yeah, and I think others of us on the council bike as well. So it's not that you're the only one. So anyway, okay.
I'm not
Appreciate-
suggesting that I am. I'm just saying that I'm pretty involved in the cycling community, a larger cycling community. I belong to bike clubs and that sort of thing. So I think that's
hear
probably
you.
why.
I'm not debating that.
I did apply for a grant, Teresa, for it's actually a grant that we got through the Bolton Mink listserv. So thank you, Justin, for sending that along to us. It's called the People for Bikes Community Grant Program. It's a very competitive grant. It's for a smallish nonprofit out of Denver, and our intent was to do some kind of a bike rack. The grant that I wrote is for a bike rack / like public art piece. There's really cool pieces sent over. Thought we could maybe incorporate something like that with it, but determinations on those grants aren't done until mid to late spring, so wouldn't necessarily be for this this agreement, but it would kind of, if we got it, and I don't think it's very likely, if we got it, we can kind of tie it into that.
Thanks, Dalton.
I do have two more questions for Mr. Armstrong, if he's still able to answer 2 questions. The first one would be, what are the current costs for the rentals, as far as hourly, or if I remember correctly, again, going way back into May, you could maybe do a month subscription or something along those lines. I apologize, I wasn't able to go back through and research again. Then the second part of that question was, have you had any conversations with the Windsor Heights Chamber about connecting with local businesses? I see in my email response that the foundation was contacted, but just wondering if the chamber was contacted at all about this.
Yes, so our current rates we do offer single use, walk up, pay at the station. Those are $3 for your first 30 minutes. And then $3 for every additional half hour. Monthly memberships are $10 and annual memberships are $80. There are also certain discounts available for people with lower incomes or for students. So there are options there, but we feel like it's a very affordable service. As to your second question, one of our earliest conversations with Windsor Heights included someone from the Chamber of Commerce. So far, since the project is not officially underway in Windsor Heights, we've worked with the Community Foundation and Dalton, but we haven't reached out to the Chamber again. It's a big part of our campaign for the coming year. Our staff time will be spent with marketing partnerships. We want to make sure that any station we add is very active, and that comes from, the destinations and the people around that station, and close partnerships and, shared events, shared marketing communications are really key to that.
I would just, I'd not really ask, but comment. I would assume you get really not good support from the foundation. Is that correct?
They were very excited. When we first reached out, we met with them at Colby Park, walked through where the station would be, and then had a few follow-up conversations as well. So they are reaching out at this point.
And that's good. I appreciate you consulting them. They could be somewhat of a funding source for us if we need it. But anyway, okay, thank you.
Is there any members of the public who had any comment on this?
This is Lauren Campbell, 1004 Street. Sorry, I don't know how to raise my hand in Zoom. And also sorry that I'm cooking dinner. I want to express my support for this proposal. I think the electric assist bikes will really open up the trail access to a lot of people who are maybe considering it, knowing that the foundation, when they put in their bike repair hub or that little station, that within like 20 minutes of its installation, that there was already people using it. I think that's really encouraging. But also I think having the electric station here will encourage people to come to Windsor Heights and spend their money. And those tax dollars are obviously very meaningful to our community as well. So where our bike trail is situated through our community, I think we're in a unique position to really maximize that, to make this as attractive to people as possible. And knowing there's not a ton of the electric stations yet, I think getting people to ours is and getting in early is really exciting and going to be beneficial for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. Anybody else? Travis? Okay.
I do not see anyone, no.
Okay. Well, if there's no further discussion, roll call.
Okay, just to be clear, I got a motion by Teresa, second by Joseph Jones.
Correct.
Okay. Teresa or Susan Skiris,
No.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Mike Lafredo,
Yes.
Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
6B, consideration of 28E agreement between Urbandale, Windsor Heights Sanitary District, City of Windsor Heights, Iowa, and the City of Urbandale, Iowa, regarding ownership of sanitary sewer lines, sanitary sewer system, maintenance, and reporting of costs and payment thereof. I will move to approve.
Second.
Dalton, would you speak to this, please?
Certainly. We've got Tim Stovie from Urbandale Public Works on the call, as well as Paul Dre with Urbandale Windsor Heights Sanitary Sewer District. What kind of brought this on is I was reading through the Urbandale annual maintenance report for their sewer program, trying to find ways that we can improve the efficiencies and level of service that we provide to our residents. And it really comes down to we just can't justify the expenditures that it's going to take to get on a 21st century professional sewer operation and maintenance program. So that was probably back in May or June. And I talked to Tim and just asked him, how do you guys do it? And he kind of agreed, you know, it's economies of scale. One of their pieces of equipment is, correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, but your vac truck is somewhere probably around $300,000. And we really just can't justify that expense in Windsor Heights. And so I asked him if it's something that doing the operation and maintenance on the sanitary sewer system in the city of Windsor Heights is something that they would be interested in. And he said, yeah. I don't know how familiar you guys are with the organization of the Urbandale Windsor Heights Sanitary District, but Urbandale and Windsor Heights both act as operating contractors on the sewer utility. So technically, when my guys are out working on the sewers, they're working on behalf of the Urbandale Windsor Heights Sanitary District. They're still city employees, but they're an operating contractor on behalf of the district. What that means is really any costs that we incur as a result of operation and maintenance, we just pass those along to the district, and they reimburse us for them. So this isn't so much a cost saving measure as it is a significant improvement and increase in the level of service that we're going to be able to provide to our residents and our ratepayers. This went through the Public Works Committee. We've talked about it, I think, at 3 meetings. The 2080 agreement went through legal. Paul's a lawyer with Brick Gentry as well. I feel pretty good about where we're at right now with this. Urbandale City Council had a work session about this, so probably about a month ago, and they seem pretty on board with the first draft of the agreement. So we've got some changes that we made that came out of the Public Works Committee, and it's here before you tonight for consideration.
Dalton, I know one of our concerns that we talked about was more or less the language that was used in the agreement as far as the timeliness of a repair. And you inquired about that, and there was no issue adding some language there about addressing any sort of issues that may come up.
Right. If you give me a second, I could probably dig through this and find the exact language, but I think that actually we ended up, there wasn't anything about timely, and so we added timely, Mike, is what it came down to.
Yeah.
I couldn't hear you, Dalton. Repeat that.
In the event of a sewer backup, we just wanted to ensure that our residents received a timely response from Urbandale, and so that was inserted into the agreement.
Okay.
So Dalton, this is expected to save the city money, correct? Is that kind of why we're looking at the shared services? And just to make sure that we receive the best quality repair and services for the city? Is that kind of where we're at with this?
Yeah, and you know, they're two sides of the same token. It's not so much going to save the city money on a tax basis, because all of our operations are funded through utility revenues on this, and the city doesn't ever actually touch any of those utility revenues. We just get reimbursed for direct expenses on the system. So while it will save the ratepayers money, it's not necessarily saving tax money. I know it's kind of splitting hairs, but there's a distinction there. But it's going to be a significantly higher level of service. I just don't have the means to televise. For one small example, I don't have the means to televise a sewer line without calling somebody in to do it. They're expensive enough that if it's not an emergency, I really need to get bids on it. And it's really expensive. Whereas Urbandale can clean and televise the entire system every few years, and then have a record of those maintenances or the maintenance operations. And Tim and Paul, am I misspeaking or missing anything here?
This is Paul Dre, and appreciate the opportunity to be before the council and to talk about this. The Urbandale Windsor Heights district has had a long relationship going back into the 50s and 60s, and I think it's worked well with the city of Windsor Heights. This sewer district encompasses Windsor Heights, a small portion of Des Moines, and a small portion of Urbandale. There's a second sewer district that encompasses the rest of the city of Urbandale. And so the two districts and the two cities have worked very closely together. And I think this is just sort of a next step in the economy of scale to be able to continue to provide the service to our residents within the district and within the cities. I think on a scale that does allow us to provide that service at a higher level, and without raising a lot of costs to do it. It actually is an efficiency for both districts, and I think for the city of Urbandale as well as the city of Windsor Heights, because we don't have to duplicate those services. And so I've enjoyed working with Dalton, and we'll continue to work with Dalton to make sure that we're meeting the city's expectations as well, because we're serving the same residents. So
it seems like it's it's very efficient to do what Dalton's recommending with Urbandale. I'm all for it, as is the committee.
So I want to give a shout out to Paul. He spent a lot of time writing up this 2080, and I'm really happy with the result of it. I think Paul based a lot of this 2080 off of existing agreements that are in place at the Clear Lake Sanitary District, the Iowa Great Lakes Sanitary District, and between the city of Iowa City and University Heights. So we're not reinventing the wheel on this thing. These other three districts have been operating with similar agreements in place for a long, long time, and they've worked really well.
Can we call for the question here?
I'm sorry, Mike.
Can we call for the question?
Well, that's a formal motion. Are we done discussing everything, it sounds like?
I don't know.
I guess I would just quickly ask if the Paul or Tim have any, were there any commentary from Urbandale or anybody else with any concerns or any other items that you'd want to make us aware of?
No, this is Tim Stovie with Urbandale Public Works, and our council approved this agreement. They're meeting last Tuesday. And what we're essentially doing is we're adding about 5% to the inventory that we're maintaining. So we're very confident with our staff and equipment, we can maintain the same level with adding Windsor Heights to the 2 sewer districts we have. So no concerns from the city of Urbandale. Paul mentioned the Urbandale Sanitary Sewer District. They fully support us doing this. So hopefully nobody will notice any changes. Like Dalton mentioned, just a little economies of scale, and we can do it just a little bit more efficiently.
Thanks, Tim. We appreciate the opportunity for that.
If no other discussion, roll call.
Susan Skiris,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Mike LaFredo,
Yes.
Mike Jones,
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Yes.
6C, consideration of resolution number 2020-125, a resolution approving a scope of services with Bolton and Mink in the amount not to exceed $7,988 to perform a stream bank stabilization analysis on North Walnut Creek. Dalton or Justin?
You might remember a few months ago, Mr. Langness up on Maryland Drive there approached the city and offered to cost share stream bank stabilization project similar to what we did up in that area earlier this summer. We went to the Public Works Committee, and Public Works Committee wasn't necessarily opposed to that, but they wanted to identify what areas of the creek actually needed to be stabilized. And so I sat down with Justin and we set some parameters on identifying projects that needed to be done in the future. The scope of services agreement is starts on page 86 of your packet there. And really it's trying to identify immediate risks to structures, to private property, the trail, and public infrastructure assets. After we have that done, we'll use that information and the results of this study to help build out the CIP.
Dalton, it goes up to Hickman. Where does it start again?
And this is for the stream bank or the stream section between Hickman and College, because that's the only portion of the stream that's 100% owned by the city.
Right, thank you. Yeah, and I think that the Public Works Committee, with regard to that specific resident that wanted to contribute to it, which is very, very nice of that person, but that it was just a real, a segment rather than further up that would impact more people. So I think it's a great idea.
This kind of goes back to like the implementing for grants. So if we have a plan in place, we'll be a lot more competitive with grants, with granting organizations that we do have a plan and we're thoughtful and all that.
I would just add that after we had kind of that initial conversation with the resident, I did have several conversations with the other neighbors along further to, the Hickman side of that, along the creek, because that's where I live, not on the creek, but right there. So I know there's still interest in, so I'm supportive of this, and I'm glad that we're going to put a plan in place, or I hope that we will move forward to put a plan in place so we can keep trying to make progress on this area. So thanks for bringing this forward, Dalton.
I will move to approve.
Second.
With no other discussion, roll call. Roll call.
Okay, sorry, I had a muting issue there. Susan Skiris,
It got me the first time too. Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Mike LaFredo,
Yes.
Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes, sir.
6D, consideration of goals and objectives. I will move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Dennis, was there anything you wanted to speak to?
No, just that this is a final version that the council's been working on for the past couple months, and it's comprehensive, and hopefully it can guide the way for the community going forward.
Is there any public comment? Nothing, Travis?
Nope, I don't see anyone.
All right. Roll call.
Susan Skiris,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Mike LaFredo,
I'm going to pass on it. Travis.
Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Do you have a particular conflict? Do you just have a personal conflict, Mike LaFredo?
Excuse me? No,
Do you just
it's
have a
all-
personal conflict?
No, I've
Okay.
expressed enough about how they're written, and so, and there's no need for me to review that.
Okay.
Erin, is that sufficient for the minutes?
It sounds to me like it's a no vote because he's not abstaining from anything. Is that correct?
Not
He
abstaining.
just said he was passing.
Aaron, I'm passing only because I'm not going to be a roadblock. If I need to, I'll just vote yes.
Well, you're either abstaining from voting for some particular reason, or you're voting yes or no.
Okay, yes.
Okay, we'll reflect the minutes, so that'll be a unanimous vote.
Item E, consideration of public safety compensation study proposal from Pontifex Consulting Group at a cost of $2,500. Chief McCluskey.
So I think, as most of you know, in the last year, our current pay plan for non-union personnel has expired citywide, and we ran into a time issue and ran up against the clock for July 1st for employee salary and raises increases. And the last study we did was less than sufficient. So Dennis had authorized me to put out a request for proposal for a public safety compensation study. And then we were going to piggyback the city, I believe, onto that once it was done, and we had a hopefully much better outcome. I drafted an RFP and sent that out. I contacted agencies across the state of Iowa, police, fire, and EMS chiefs, and developed a list of about 26 consultants that they had used and had good luck with. So we sent it out to that group. We also posted the RFP on LinkedIn, the International City County Managers Association website, and the city website. We received 7 proposals back, which I was quite pleased with, considering we only had 2 for the full city compensation study earlier. And of those 7, 2 of them were extremely high costs, but the other 5 were pretty good proposals. Those were taken to the Public Safety Committee, and we whittled them down to 3 to conduct interviews with via Zoom. And the Public Safety Committee conducted those interviews just in the last couple of weeks. And the Public Safety Committee unanimously recommended moving forward with Pontifex as a recommendation for council. Interestingly enough, that's the lowest cost bid as well. But it is important to point out the Public Safety Committee and myself both were not necessarily looking at the lowest costs as much as we were looking at a quality product, so we don't get in the same position we were before. So if council approves, then we'll move forward and begin the work. We've got plenty of time, so we're hoping to have it done within the first couple of months of calendar year 2021 to give us enough time to get it implemented before July, and then also address the other city employees that are non-union.
Yeah, and I would just make this comment. It looked like a great choice for who's going to do the study. So it's not about the study, it's about the timing of the study with the pandemic and people out of work and cities not bringing in the tax revenue that they did before. And I'm not talking about Windsor Heights in particular, but I'm talking about in general, when they do a study, that I mean, this is not a typical time. And so I think I would have that caveat that, and I'm sure the study will indicate that because of the time we're in right now. So I think it'll probably be reflected in the study, but so just let it go on. But that's kind of worrisome for me for the employees that will be certainly affected by all that.
This particular consultant has quite a bit of experience, and I know that there's some historical data there too. So I think we can work through that. But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. Okay.
Just
Yeah,
to,
I'm all for, as you know, for the public safety employees.
just to clarify, Chad, what is the, more or less, what is the goal of asking for the study?
So back in, I think it was 14 or 15, council had trying to think of the name of the company, Verisight study that produced a pay matrix for 3 years for increases. And it gave a path so that every July when we came up, there was some consistency on how salary increases were going to be done citywide for non-union personnel. That expired as of June 30th of 2020. So we don't have that any further. And none of that data that was in that study is in a format that can be replicated to move forward. So what the goal of this is to produce a salary range or salary matrix that we can use going forward, and also include access to that raw data where the city can mimic that for multiple years going forward instead of having to come back and do another study every 3 years. But currently we have no plan, so employees have no idea what's going to happen July 1. And the idea of this is to solidify that and bring clarity to that.
Chad, let me ask you one more question. With the union employees, in the past, has the non-exempts been pretty close to the union contract?
The previous matrix under Verisight used the union contract percentage of increase as the base. So if the union was set to say 3% for that year, then that Verisight study was built around that. And I suspect that that will probably be very similar going forward.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Chad. I'll move to approve.
I just want to say, I hate spending more money on this issue since we've already spent quite a bit of money previously, and the result was less than what I would like. So I think that the only way for the employees to receive a full compensation or a fair compensation study for our staff members is to move forward with this. I'm happy that you were able to interview 3 or 4 or 5 or however many agencies, businesses to look into this. And I'm hoping that it was basically unanimous that everybody, approved this committee. But thank you for all your hard work. And I definitely appreciate it after going through the last round of studies.
Thank you. And it was unanimous across the Public Safety Committee. All the members selected the same one. We had one member of the Public Safety Committee that had to leave the meeting early, and I actually reached out to her afterwards and asked for her opinion without giving her what the rest of the majority said. And she selected the same one. So it was unanimous, and I'm confident having a little bit more control over it, we'll get a better product this time.
I would just
Sounds good.
echo Chad's comments and statements too, from the perspective of the Public Safety Committee took this very seriously. We got together and in particular, I think with concern from Joseph and myself, we didn't want to put more of that or more money towards a bad study. And so it was really important for us to get this right. And the committee, we shared that with the committee as well, expressing our concern and that we needed to make sure that this time it was we would go about it the right way and pick the right contractor. So we feel very confident. I think, as Chad said, that we had a unanimous decision. But I think I feel better about it. Not only that it ended up being the most cost-effective choice, but that we'll be able to utilize this for moving forward beyond the 3-year period. So I appreciate all of that and Chad's hard work to kind of bring this forward and get this moving so we can get this settled and have some numbers for our staff moving forward.
Yeah, and this is specific to the public safety group.
Yes.
So I like that too, because each of the groups, particularly public safety, is a real specialized group. So I think that that's good that it's a separate study.
Mike, I think you made a motion. I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Okay, Susan Skiris,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Mike Lafredo,
Yes.
Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Item F, consideration of change order number 2, 2020 College Drive improvements. I will move to approve.
Can we get an update, or I suppose I'll second. Can we get an update from Dalton or Justin?
Dalton or Justin?
Justin, I'll defer to you on the update, but the change order that you have in front of you is really just formalizing what we talked about back a couple months ago about stopping the projects for the winter. So we're changing the language in the contract, and the way that has to be done is by change order. So there's letters in here from the contractor requesting it. Justin and Erin have provided recommendations, and I agree with their recommendations to approve. As far as the update on the projects themselves, Justin.
So
yeah, so just a quick update for the project wise. All the concrete's been poured or majority, I guess most of the concrete's been poured. They're backfilling today and they're hoping to get done Wednesday. And then they'll be sealing stage 3, which is Plaza to Lewin. They'll be sealing the joints and stuff starting tomorrow afternoon into Wednesday. So wrapping all that stuff up for the winter here.
I would just comment that the residents have been more than patient, and I hope that they're privy to what we're doing now in terms of the timeline, anticipated timeline, because again, I don't live on either of those streets, but they're to be commended for their endurance there.
to clarify, Dennis, is everything going to be called, I think, did you say the 19th of December?
That's the date that we're still working on, but I have a feeling just because the weather has been pretty good the last couple days that we're going to probably be before that with some of the projects. The important thing for us is to get the access reestablished on these roads so people can get back and forth, especially on College Drive, but also make sure that the communication projects that we have planned for this are also out before we're stopped. So right now, just for your information, we're working on an FAQ sheet for distribution, but also a video that will document the progress we've made so far and also communicate some information on what residents can expect in the spring.
Dennis, are they using the street right now?
College and 69th, I know, are still closed, but we anticipate from Justin's schedule that they'll be reopened by the end of the day on Wednesday. Is that right, Justin?
Possibly, or we're hoping by at least by Friday, just time to get everything cleaned up and whatnot. So.
And college is being used right now, isn't it? It's open?
I mean, it's open for the residents. Everybody has access to their
Okay.
driveways. It's just the
Yeah,
cleaning
yeah.
up behind the
Yeah,
back
that-
of curb and putting signs up and stuff. So.
Okay, well, that's good, that the residents can get through.
But we're just to clarify, we're talking about road closed, road block signs gone, and everything cleaned up and all the backfilling done so that it's cleared just like it was before, and people have full unencumbered access to their streets. That's what we're trying to aim for by the end of the week.
Yeah, that's great.
Already
Thanks.
Justin's hedging his bets though, just so you know, because we talked earlier today about it, and the day was Wednesday by the end of business, and so you can hear him already saying Friday.
Yeah, a lot of it, we have to put some stop signs up and make sure everything's controlled that way. So they have to do a couple locates, and hopefully they get all that stuff done. So
The only thing for sure is that there will be changes along the way.
So Dennis, I appreciate that you guys are going to do an FAQ and continue to keep the residents updated, because this is something that I generally get, again, questions just on, when are things happening and what does this mean for the spring? So the only thing I really didn't like in that update with the extension is that it said that it'll be finished in the spring / summer. I don't like the word summer in there at all. Summer is in June. And if they're asking for, I think it was 45 days, hopefully, I understand we have spring weather and those sorts of things, but I hope this doesn't continue to get drug on and they can get in here and get it knocked out right away. So just to be on the record for that, but I know that the residents will really appreciate the additional communication, particularly with an update on what to expect moving forward. So thanks everybody for your work on this. And I know I'm super excited. I've been walking on College, but I haven't driven my car on it. So can't wait to get out there.
Teresa, the only thing I would add to that would be if this was just simply a road project that was weather dependent, you may not have seen that summer thing. But as we all know from last spring and how that went, we are so uncertain as to how the spring's going to roll out with this COVID thing that I think we need to be a little bit flexible and understand that it could go to May or June before we're ready to wrap this up. So we ask for everybody's patience, understanding that this is, we're living in times that are just very unique, and we're going to get this project wrapped up as quick as possible.
That's a good approach, Dennis. I appreciate that. There's obstacles, obviously.
I have no other discussion. Roll call.
Susan Skiris,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Mike LaFredo,
Yes.
Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Item G, consideration of change order number 1, 2020 Streets Improvement Project, 69th and Allison Avenue. I will move to approve.
Second.
Dalton or Justin?
So again, this is change order just to change the contract language from completion date basis to working day basis. They've requested 72 working days to complete. Sorry. It's 72 working days for 3 and 4 on 69th Street. Allison obviously is getting done this year. Be done pretty quickly here, but as far as updates to the project itself, I'll defer to Justin on that.
Yep. So today on 69th Street, they poured all the west side driveways, and they'll be forming tomorrow, and then hopefully pouring all those, or not all of them, but halves Wednesday. And then there's sidewalk on that side, so they have to do it in kind of 2 different pours. So hopefully Wednesday and Thursday, they pour all the sidewalks and driveways there in that segment. And then they'll be in to backfill all those streets. Allison, or I should stay on 69th, they will be installing water services on stage 3 and 4. So we kind of worked ahead without having to remove any pavement. So they'll be doing that here this week and next week yet for those people. And then on Allison, rock was installed today. We're shooting to pour the 64th Street there on Wednesday. And then a little bit, so there'll be 2 pours there Wednesday, and then Thursday will be on the kind of the curve on going down into Allison. And then hopefully if the weather holds out and everything goes well, we'll pour those 3 driveways Friday, but if not Friday, it'll be Monday. So we're trying to get in there and get those working, and then they'll be backfilling stage 2 as soon as they get done with college. So they're looking at Thursday, Friday-ish.
Justin, do you know, do they have multiple crews or are they going back and forth?
Multiple crews for
well, are there 2 crews working simultaneously at 69th and college, or is it one at a time?
So for the sidewalk and stuff, it's one at a time. I know for backfilling and whatnot, one guy was working on college while one was working on Allison. So they have kind of split those 2 up a little bit, but the goal was to finish college and then moved on 69th Street for the set driveways and stuff.
Okay. Any other discussion?
This is for 72 working days to complete this, while the college one was 45. Is that correct?
Right.
Roll call.
Susan Skiris,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Mike LaFredo,
Yes.
Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Item H, consideration of pay request number 8, 2020 Streets Improvements Project, Allison Avenue and 69th Street. I will move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
Can we get an update on what's left?
Yep. So that pay estimate was the street paving for Allison stage 2, street paving for 69th Street stage 2, storm sewer. So what is left is Allison will be the next pay app will really close that one out. So pay app number 9, and then what's left on 69th Street will be paving and some storm sewer work on stages 3 and 4 next year. The pay app 9 will be driveways, some street work at the intersection of Mott and sidewalk and backfilling and stuff. So really it's stage 3 and 4 on 69th Street, which is mostly just paving work, a little bit of storm sewer cross runs. Water main will be done mostly this year. So
Thanks, Justin.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Skiris,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Mike LaFredo,
Yes.
Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Item I, consideration of pay request number 8, 2020 College Drive Improvements Project. I will move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Harms, did you want an update?
No, I think that was provided in the previous one. Thanks.
Is there anything about university and where we're at? I don't see anything for university on here. Am I able to ask about the update on university?
How about we do it during the council reports? That works.
Sounds good.
Okay. Roll call.
Susan Skiris,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Mike LaFredo,
Yes.
Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Item K, consideration of 2021 health insurance renewal. I will move to approve.
Actually, looks like you skipped on there, Mike. We had
The budget transfers, I'm sorry. J, consideration of resolution 2020-126, fiscal year 21 budget transfers. I will move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Well, and I think Dennis, are you speaking to this?
No, Rochelle's online. She should be able to answer your questions and make a presentation.
Okay. Rochelle?
Yeah, hey, there's really nothing to present except this is for the loan interest payments that happened on December 1.
Any other discussion? Okay. Roll call.
Susan Skiris,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Mike Lafredo,
Yes.
Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes.
All right. Consideration of item K, 2021 health insurance renewal. I will move to approve.
Second.
Rochelle or Dennis, I'm not sure which one of you is speaking to this.
It's Travis is here as well, and he wrote the memo, so he can answer your questions. But in a nutshell, we met with our advisor from Gallagher I think in October, and we started talking about what the renewal numbers would look like if we kept the health insurance as is. And so you see that's included in your packet today. It's a 3.43% increase. Much of that is going to be influenced by our employee group and the experience that we've had in the past. We have expensive claims that are filed with the city, then that does influence your premiums going forward. So we were recommending that the insurance coverages stay the same for both the union and non-union. And that's resulting in approximately a $55,000 increase for year 21 starting January 1st. Travis, do you have anything to add?
No, just we get a few questions as to why we stay with Wellmark. One reason is there's really basically two insurance companies in Iowa, Wellmark and United Healthcare. Wellmark offers us these, they call them grandmothered ACA plans, meaning, or non-ACA plans, meaning that they don't follow the Affordable Care Act. And that allows them to offer us level premiums for single employee plus spouse, employee plus child, and family. Whereas if we went to an ACA plan, we would be rated on age and sex and also other experience modifiers. So every person on our census, we have about 30 on our census, would be at a potentially different level of a rate. So this is nice because it allows us to keep our costs down and keep us at a level premium for each class.
And Travis, if I'm not mistaken, once you leave the grandmothered or grandfathered policy coverage for, say, a different policy or a different carrier, then you forever cannot go back.
That is correct. And one thing on the 13% increase, 9% of that was across the board for anyone in that in the group that we're in. And then we had a slight reduction in the premium because of our census, because we have either younger people or more single people or more single than families and that sort of thing. And then that kind of helped offset that increase that we had with our experience, which we had a couple or had a larger case last year. So, based on everything, considering that a 2% decrease last year and it was a flat 9% across the board for all groups, I was comfortable with what we saw.
I appreciate those comments, and I had sent Dennis a couple of questions about this, and so I would tell you not to necessarily be afraid of the coming out of the grandmothered or grandfathered plans. I have health insurance for my my staff, and so I do this on an annual basis as well. This year we had zero. We had less. I shouldn't say zero. We had less than 1% increase, just because claims are down across the board, and in the insurance space. I understand how the cities is calculated, and that it's driven by, you know, the city census data. So I appreciate all of that. I think a couple of things moving forward, just food for thought as we look at this going into next year, is would be to consider what the other plans outside of our current plan is, just to see if there's some cost savings as potential. And then one of the things I did ask Dennis is to compare what our kind of platform or smorgasbord of benefits is compared to you know, this other cities in the metro, to know whether or not how our benefits compare. Are they richer? Are they not as great, or whatever? And I know we did that probably about 4 years ago now. We looked at that, and it was very helpful information to figure out whether or not we needed to make them better, I think, or not. It certainly plays in with our goals at figuring out how do we I have to look at the goal number. I think it's 3. 3 or 4. Basically, having good benefits, but also making sure that they are reasonable increases for our taxpayers. So it's a pretty sizable increase, but I understand the premise behind that. So I just wanted to suggest that moving forward, we do at least have a couple of options to choose from, so we can, the council has some choice and can look and figure out what's best, not only for our budget, but for our staff. We might find that there's some better options out there, because we are in a plan that has been around for a long time. So I just offer that. Thank you.
Teresa, I will throw in a couple things. Your second comment first. We will be looking at other groups next year when we do this, and we can do it with the assistance from Gallagher. But you can imagine that collecting that data is time consuming. So we'll get started on that much sooner next year and have that available to you. But also, just for your information, we did consider a number of other changes to the policy with the help from Gallagher. And we did this early on with the idea that what would happen if we jacked up the deductibles for our employees, and what would the cost savings be? And we learned early on with their help that the cost savings that would be applied to our monthly premiums was very little compared to what we would be putting the burden on the employees. And so we didn't waste our consultants' time going forward trying to, you know, sharpen the pencil. So we went back and we really focused on 2 different alternatives. The first alternative would have been to combine both the non-union and the union plans together to see what would happen, because obviously we would desire to have everything the same. It would be easier for us to manage. And we found out that increase was greater than, I think if you see it on the chart, it was a little over 16% increase. So we instructed the consultant to just stick with what we had for now. And then next year we would look at alternatives again and see if there's a better way that we can do this in the current market. So we did do that, and we will certainly be making that a priority next year.
Well, Dennis, I would think that this is kind of an exceptional year with this pandemic and people getting more medical attention probably. So it may have influenced the premiums going forward, just not for us, but for others too.
Well, you know, as Travis pointed out, it was a 9% increase across the board for most organizations. So that was something that I don't know if you could earmark that or tag that to COVID, but it doesn't seem like you could. But when you do get into the individual experience, if an organization is, you know, just decimated with COVID treatments that are costly early on in the spring, because there is a cutoff point for what that experience will show you, then yeah, that could have an impact. With our organization, we didn't see any COVID experience going through, like any of the time period that our consultant was looking at our experience. So it certainly could crop up again next year with this experience rolling forward.
It's probably a bigger pool that's used to even give our rates rather than just our little pool. So I would guess that, knowing a little bit about insurance.
Muted. Any other discussion? If not, roll call.
Yeah, Susan Skiris,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Mike LaFredo,
Yes.
Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Reports.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I may have fallen asleep at the switch. I want to make sure that, Travis, we did take action on H and I for those pay requests and not just H.
I'm actually doing the minutes as we go. I have, let's see. For item H, I have motion by Mike Jones to approve pay request number 8, seconded by LaFredo. And then for the College Drive improvements, I have motion by Mike Jones, second by LaFredo.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry for the interruption.
Reports. Ms. Harms.
Good evening. Thank you. A couple of things to update this today. Attended the Celebrate Windsor Heights event last Wednesday. Congratulations to our very own Joseph Jones for being recognized as Citizen of the Year. That was super fun. And then to all other, so congrats, Joseph, and to all of the other Windsor Heights businesses that were recognized and awarded for all of their achievements. We appreciate them being in our community and being engaged. It was a cool online virtual event. So kudos to not only the chamber, but I know that Edie and Lauren did a lot of work to pull that together. So appreciate all their efforts on that. And then I just wanted to say thanks to Whitney for the continued communication updates. And although I'm sure it's a lot of extra work on her end, I certainly appreciate that. And it helps me be able to target my time and energy a little bit more, as well as to keep a pulse of what's going on. So I just wanted to say those are very, very much appreciated. Public safety met on November 17th, so after our last meeting. And we had 2 meetings actually. So we had our standing meeting, which we covered and got an update on Westcom, and then shared services from Chad, and then talked a little bit about the public compensation study that we had. So and then we met again the following week to hold those interviews and make that consideration and bring that forward to us tonight. So public safety has been busy. We meet again on December 17th, I think, is our next meeting. And so we are continuing to move things forward in public safety. And then Metro Waste board meeting was on the next evening. So that was on the 18th. And we had a presentation update from Eat Greater Des Moines, which is basically upscaling food and keeping it out of the dumpsters and helping feed the greater metro. So it was a really nice update, and they're looking to connect with players in our community, and they've got partnerships with, the grocery stores and the convenience stores and all of the restaurants and whatever. And so know that, kind of Dennis note that we might be hearing from them about how our community can participate in their project. Metro Waste audit came back clean. So I know that's a goal for us this next year. And so they were pleased to have a clean audit. So and then I did take the opportunity to introduce Susan as the new Metro Waste representative for Windsor Heights. And then Susan and I met with the Metro Waste staff separately in a meeting last week to provide a transition for Susan and give her an update. And so she'll be having her first meeting on December 16th and representing us and on Metro Waste Authority. So I think that's all, other than understanding that the mayor is feeling under the weather, and we hope that he feels better soon. Thank you.
Mr. Lafredo.
I would just, I think you all got this, but I think it's a worthwhile Zoom meeting. It's the Taxpayers Association of Central Iowa. And the two main headings are the MPO, the updates there, and they have two speakers, Todd Ashby and Emily Kissinger. And then the other area is several things: the Capital Crossroads, DART, Healthy Polk County, and Housing Tomorrow. So I find it kind of interesting, the ones I've attended, or they're on Zoom. It kind of gives you some information, and others are there because there's oftentimes, most of the time, there's representatives from around our central cities. So just as a reminder, I think it's worthwhile. It's not very long. It's on December 9th. That's it.
Joseph Jones.
Thanks, Mike. I will just reiterate Teresa's comments and thanking the chamber for putting on a really good event. I think it was a great showcase of our businesses in Windsor Heights, and I am more than humbled to have been awarded Citizen of the Year, but I think a lot of that recognition came from all of us kind of finally connecting and thriving together and creating some really great opportunities for our citizens in the last few years. And so I thank all of you for that good partnership. I know we have some difficult conversations at times, but I think we all want the best for the city, and we're moving in the right direction. And I think we should keep pushing in that direction. I will just point you toward our DART highlights from our last meeting. You should have gotten that in an email at some point in the last couple of days, but we did talk about our legislative priorities and continued budget development conversation, particularly in terms of talking about the business partnerships that we're working through and some art shelter planning. So you'll see some of that in that update. For Dennis or Travis or whoever is part of scheduling for our next meeting, I did hear back from DART, and they had not planned on being on the meeting today. So they will reach out to you about getting on the agenda for an upcoming meeting. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Joseph. Ms. Scaries.
Well, as Teresa said, I was introduced to the Metro Waste Board the last November meeting. And then Teresa and I were able to meet with Michael and Leslie at Metro Waste just to kind of show me things, tell me things, explain things to me, run through the rules. So I appreciate Teresa's help in setting that meeting up for me. Also wanted to say thanks to the Chamber for the great Celebrate event. And anybody who wasn't present, if you wanted to go to the Chamber's Facebook page at some point in time, they will be posting the videos that were played, and they were really good videos. So nice to kind of look and see the businesses that they showcased for us. And it was nice to kind of see some of the businesses that I normally don't go to on a daily basis. So as Lauren says, posting one video each day at 7 a.m. from Celebrate. So there you go. Look at the Facebook page and enjoy some nice videos.
Susan, you'd asked earlier with regards to the university project, Dalton or Justin, is there a way you could give us an update on that?
Thanks, Mike. I completely forgot about that. Appreciate it.
Justin, I'll defer to you.
Yep, just trying to find my mute. So they poured the little driveway going into Bankers Trust this morning. So that'll be the last big pour of the year. our luck's running out with good long stretches of decent weather here this week. It's not to say they won't be working. A lot of the major stuff you see won't be happening, but they'll be working on electrical items, traffic and signal stuff, either pulling wire, putting push buttons, ped buttons in, and just kind of working, redoing some of the signals. So there'll be kind of on and off type of things, just small things going on, but anything major, it'll probably be wrapping up here this week or next week. They'll backfill some of behind the curb and do some odds and end cleanup stuff before the end of the year.
Just to clarify then, either Justin or Dalton, is there going to be, so there's going to be only half of the road is more or less paved right now, and it's going to remain like that over the course of the winter?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
70th Street intersection will be opened up on the south side here.
Okay.
Coming weeks.
Are they going to make sure to fill in any, because I know it's in limited places, but there are some drop off from the road to sort of where they've, dug everything out. Are those going to be filled in?
Yeah, there's a couple spots over by 69th Street. Those fill up with rock, and then they'll be cleaning up behind the back of curbs and whatnot along the sidewalks too on the south side.
Okay.
There is also utility work outside of our project going on. Those more fiber stuff. So if you see some of that stuff going on, that's not part of the University Avenue project, but they'll be working out there as well.
All right. Dennis. Anything from you?
Good things. I just wanted to remind the council we have a closed session after the adjourning the regular meeting, but also to let you know that staff met with MediaNet, and they laid out their proposed schedule. They plan to begin installation March, April, and they also will be starting to add Windsor Heights residents as customers as they get neighborhoods completed. And so they expect to have their first neighborhood ready to go for new customers May, early June. So they will be doing that. We will be getting daily updates from them by email as to what they're going to be working on. And if there's anything of significance, we'll be definitely passing that on to the council and pushing it out through social media so everybody understands why there's people out digging in the right of way.
Hey, Dennis, can I advocate for my neighborhood first?
You can advocate.
Thank you.
Dennis, just to clarify, I have it on the agenda. The closed session is next, not before the adjournment. Is that correct, Travis or Dennis?
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right. Closed session then. Closed session pursuant to Iowa Code Section 21.5 1C to discuss strategy with counsel in matters that are presently in litigation or where litigation is imminent, where its disclosure would be likely to prejudice or disadvantage the position of the government body in that litigation. I will move to go into closed session.
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Okay, just give me one moment here. Okay, Susan Skerries,
Yes.
Joseph Jones, Mike Jones,
Yes.
Mike Lafredo,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes.